Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm TJ O'Connor. With me, as always, Damian the Wolverine Hill. Trash Talk is joined tonight by Calyn, the albino rhino Hull. But first, sponsors of the show: Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrinks Tattoo, Origin Wellness CBD, Spartan Martial Arts, The Striking Institute, James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, The Fighters, and my mom. Hull, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing just fine, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us. I mean, especially after breaking this news about your retirement. And I guess that's what we're here to talk about. But what ultimately led into you making the decision?
I'll do my best to answer that. It's just, it took a hard loss, obviously, my last fight, kind of reevaluated my what I was going to do for training and everything like that. I rolled right into wrestling season, and I focused on the wrestling season because I knew it was going to be a tough one, and I wanted to be focused on that, and that just grew my how the wrestling season ended was amazing to end as state champions with all the internal turmoil we kept to ourselves, and that just kind of grew my love for coaching and just expanded upon that. Then we rolled pretty much right into COVID, so I couldn't really go train or anything, but I was still able to work with Ben Rothwell because he had a fight coming up and he has his own gym, so we were able to, I was still able to travel to Kenosha and still get that work in with him and developing his preparation for Vince. And then he asked me to be his corner, so I got to go along and be there. And in that experience, while it was a very unique scenario, not the full UFC experience because everything was still being shut down, obviously. I realized that's where I wanted to be. I loved it. Everything about the environment was still electric, even though there was no one there. It's a weird feeling, but I absolutely loved it and fell even more in love with coaching. And then we roll into kind of things start to open back up, at least here in Wisconsin. And I go back to training at Pure Vita, and Jake does find me a fight. And, I tell him all the right things. Hey, yeah, I look forward to it. I'll do all that. But the first thing that ran to my mind was, I don't really care. And in that moment, it's just like, should I continue fighting? I'm good. I do enjoy fighting. I love the sport as a whole and want to be involved. But is my heart truly in fighting and the competition part of it? And old discussions with my parents and reevaluating and take a hard look in the mirror, I realized it's not, and it's on the other side of the cage, and helping and developing everybody in that route is pretty much kind of the best way to put it, I guess. I've always wanted to coach. I've always wanted to coach, and it's just I'm going to make that transition now.
Man, dude, okay, one of the things that goes into fighters making their retirements is everyone talks about how hard of a decision it is and how much thought and all of those things that you have to put into it beforehand. But there's also the other element that goes into it where guys, it's an easy decision to make. Like where you said, like, hey, I don't really care that I have a fight. Like that's, and then recognizing that, hey, like this is the time maybe I should walk away, and all of the things that you enjoy from coaching that are still there. And dude, like that's not even, none of this is a question. I'm just in awe, like how you came to the conclusion of just wanting to focus on coaching. And I guess, do you feel like COVID had played a major factor in it, or do you think that this is one of those situations that was going to ultimately play out kind of the same way no matter what?
I definitely think COVID expedited it a little bit. I was able to kind of be at home, be a father, and enjoy that aspect of just life in general. Yeah. I realize that's another part that's been taken away from my children. I go to train, come home, I'm exhausted. I'm not the engaged father I wanted to be at this point in my life, excuse me. and you just kind of, again, that it just hits you. And, I kept it all inside for the longest time. And then finally I called and told Jake first that that's kind of the choice that I'm making at this time. And I know I want to make it, but finally letting all that information out is very emotional. And I did start crying because it's out there now. It's real. It's happening. But after that, the more I tell people, the more the news, I guess, gets out there. I didn't realize it was going to be as big a deal as it is. But the more it feels real and the more it feels right. So I know I'm in the right place to pursue and expand on what will hopefully be my real career is coaching in MMA.
Yeah, and I like the way you worded the whole thing. It was so eloquently said. And I mean, to be so, especially in your situation where you've been competing, I can only imagine since a young child. And at the end of the day, every competitor has to have that decision that, it's time to move on to that point in your life. And some guys have that conversation with themselves a little too late. So you being able to have this with yourself at this point, knowing that you're content, getting that experience, like you said, going down and traveling with Ben to Jacksonville, getting that UFC coaching experience. And that was one of the things, because when I first read your post, I kind of took it as, you're going to focus more on coaching wrestling. But after talking with you, even for a couple minutes here, it sounds like you're going to be getting into coaching fighting as well. Is that the case?
Yeah, I want to do it all. I do love coaching wrestling. I do want to take over the high school team I work with eventually right now. And also being able to coach MMA would allow me the freedom to do both things for it. I love wrestling. Wrestling's probably going to be the focus of what I coach and teach in the MMA world. So it's all just going to really tie together at this point. So why not keep myself busy and do what I know I love doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, we talk about coming to the conclusion of making the decision of wanting to retire. This is just kind of, I just kind of want to know for myself where your mind is at. What do you think about the fighters that are, a foot out the door already and still continue to fight? Like the fighters that go the full on way of opening up their own gym even. It was one of those things that I felt about Uriah Faber. If he wasn't in control of everything, maybe he would have been so much better, and he was already the shit. I don't know. How do you feel about that type of a foot out the door man?
Obviously, I can't speak for everybody involved and what their choices are. Everybody wants to have that John Elway exit where you just ride into the sunset after you're just right on top. You can't do anymore, but that's just very few and far between to have those moments. So I think a lot of people are chasing those, the only routes they kind of know how. They've been fighting for so long, they're going to continue to fight. And it's sometimes hard to look in the mirror and realize that you're not the fighter you once were. Obviously, that's not my case. I was still trending up. I still feel like, I still have fights left in me. I still feel like I could have had and developed the skill sets necessary to be at that top level. But I see the level of work you have to put in to do that. Like guys like Montel, who's fighting this weekend specifically, I see the work he puts in, how much he's hungry for the top level being a fighter. And I can look myself in the mirror and go, I don't have that level of tenacity this route. I do the coaching route. I want to be a top coach. I want to be one of the best coaches. I want to truly make a living doing that. So, I kind of went on a tangent versus your original question. The guys that tend to hang on, it's hard to speak for them just because, I'm not in that position. Fighting wasn't my career. So it's hard for me to call it a retirement when I only wasn't fighting. I feel like I'm just kind of stepping away and transitioning just into the next phase of my life. So it's, I can't really answer your question because I'm not in that spot.
Well, dude, you answered it for me anyway, because not having an answer is still an answer in my eyes, especially the way that you put it, And I loved one of the things that you said, where you still feel like you have some fight left in you. You have some fights still in you, but we all know no fighter wants to retire with no fights left in them. That's that's where we start to see the dangerous part of retirement. And I'm just glad that you're able to still speak clearly and and come to this conclusion on your own before it
So was my
ultimately
mom, by the way.
made.
She's very happy. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
yeah. How's the rest of the family? How did they respond to your retirement?
Oh, my mom obviously was ecstatic to hear it. She's always directed to play. I mean, they love and support whatever I'm going to choose. My focus on. They are happy I'm still pursuing what I love and know I'm going to be even more driven and focused, and are willing to support me in this route. So
Yeah.
my mom's happy. I'm not taking any more punches to the head on a regular basis.
And then growing up, I'm talking to you previously. You've mentioned that your father was a coach. So is this something growing up, seeing him do that? Is that kind of where you got it from, knowing what it takes behind the scenes to be a high level coach, and knowing that while you're transitioning from being a competitor, it's going to take as much hard work to make sure that you're doing the best you can and developing your abilities as a coach as well.
What I learned from my father, I was really young when he was an actual coach at Purdue. And so my memories aren't really there until he went into what would be more of an administrative role for USA Wrestling, but he was obviously still involved with sport. He coached me growing up. And just kind of what I learned from him is high level technique and the whys of the technique, not just what the technique is. Why I put my feet here, why I put my hands here, why I attack this position, why I put my hips here, and just a more comprehensive explanation of the technique, which I think helps me as coach and advance and be at that higher level, at this top level in the sport, to be a coach. So, seeing technique through his eyes is the biggest thing I learned, and how he coached. When growing up, it would be more, we would just wrestle until he felt there was a position that we needed to work on. We work on that for 10, 15 minutes, and we go back to wrestle. And I feel like right now, at least, being young and still having, like I said, fights within me, I'm still going to be active. I'll still be sparring. I'll still be in those guys' face. So it'll be kind of similar idea. We'll go after each other until we come across a position that I want to work on. We'll work on for 10 minutes and go back at it again. So it's that active coaching also that I picked up from him that really I do love, and it helps keep me going.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, there's no substitute for experience. And you've experienced a lot throughout your career as a wrestler, career coaching, and as a fighter. What do you feel like you're going to be able to, I don't know, show the next wave of guys, and even the guys that you've already been working with? I mean, you've been able to train and grow with a lot of the fighters as well, and they're going to still be continuing to compete, but you've fought and done so much yourself. What do you feel like is, I don't know, it's such a broad question, but what do you feel like the best thing that you're going to be able to bring to the next wave of guys, being able to show and teach from your experience?
Just outside of what I feel like is advanced level technique for wrestling, I understand the highs and lows of fighting. I understand, like most fighters really do. I understand the pressures that it brings. I think at another level. I mean, I got my then girlfriend pregnant at 19, daughter at 20, another daughter at 22. I know the weight of priorities and how to handle those life situations, and I feel like I give somewhat educated advice in those scenarios. It's just I think I understand the broader picture, I think, a lot better. And I think me making this choice at this point in my career is another reflection of something like that.
Dude, I love the way you answered that, because it's not the answer that I was completely expecting, but I'm not surprised at all by the answer, because I asked, what are you going to be able to bring to the fighters? And nothing that you said was about fighting at all. And that's an element that I wasn't even thinking about. And that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. And that is an element that, dude, fuck yeah, I can't wait to start seeing you coach full time, man.
I can't wait either.
I when I first saw the post, I thought it was a great transition talking to you here tonight. knowing the passion that you have for it, the experience, I think it's going to be great. And I know how you said, you don't want to use the R word, but as you make this transition in from competing into coaching, looking back on it, just as of today, was there a favorite moment for you as far as competing? Was there a fight that you're going to remember and look back on most and just have a little smirk in the back of your head?
Obviously, the one that comes to the moment is the big knockout back at Three River. That's a huge, a fun moment, but nothing can really replace the friendship that a sport like this brings. Like, I would have never met or been involved with a guy like Daniel James had we not fight and been exposed to his life and developed him as a friend. I wouldn't have met the guys at Pura Vida that I've been involved in. Just my initial teammates and trainer, Lawrence Pearson, all those, it's just, you can't top the relationships you build in a sport like this that's so demanding, and it's something I'm going to treasure, and it's indescribable. That's the term I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, luckily, you're still going to be entrenched in the game. Those friendships are still going to be there. Like Damian said, he couldn't say any better. I look forward to seeing this transition. I look forward to hearing, oh, this is a Calyn Hull fighter, and seeing that transition and seeing you work with guys and watching them grow. And I hope nothing but the best for you here in your future. Before we wrap up tonight, though, open platform as always. Thank any teammates, sponsors, anybody. This one's a little bit different. Anybody that's been there for you in your career, looking back on it, that you want to give a shout out to that you haven't already named. You've named a lot of people already.
Oh man, I got to go. I'll try and do this as best as possible, and I apologize to those people I'm going to forget. Specifically, my friend Brian Roker, who originally got me into the gym, led to all this to begin with. I just mentioned Lawrence Pearson, working all the time, and still will be working with Owen Cunningham. He was my first training partner and all that. My friend John Jones, also one of those first original training partners specifically for me. You expand out to Pure Vida, Jay Clibb, Zach Otto, Solo out there taking me in at the time when I was trying to advance my career, and are still willing to work with me even in these moments as I move on. Like I said, Daniel James, and I got to go down to Midwest Training Center and work down there with all the people there, and they welcomed me with open arms. Ben Rothwell and him bringing me in and getting to work with him and going to continue to be working with him. There's just so many people to thank, everyone that's reached out and all the kind words that I've gotten. It's truly amazing. I didn't realize I made so many friends in the sport, and that many people cared about my simple transition here. Just this lowly Midwest fighter, just moving on to something else. But, thank you to everybody for those kind words. And as always, thank you to my family, whose love and support allows me to pursue these dreams that I have.
Man, dude, you shouldn't be surprised that so many people care. You're such an easy dude to like and get along with, and man, and just a badass fighter too. So that was a plus. but man, I really, we can't stress this enough. The transition is going to be great, and I can't wait to have you on again, continue talking with you, and to continue to see the progression with your coaching career, the fighters that you work with, and everything. Because, like you said, the relationships that you make in this game it's indescribable, and I feel like we've made a really good connection with you, and I hope to have a relationship with you, and as well as your fighters too. So thank you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I always love talking to you guys.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for everything. You mentioned you're just a fighter from the Midwest, and that's literally what we're here for, is to give you the platform that you deserve. And thanks for everything. If you're watching this video, which you fucking better be, like it below, subscribe to Trash Talk with Damian and TJ, and do not, I repeat, do not be a hoe.